Hello and welcome to RxSwift series. This is a tutorial for complete beginners in RxSwift, and in our first episode we will transform a classic TableView app into a reactive one. We'll start with the prerequisites needed to follow along: a MacBook with Xcode and Cocoa pods installed, and basic Swift knowledge. You will find more details in the video's description. Cool! Before digging into the code, let's talk a bit about RxSwift and RxCocoa frameworks. They're part of the ReactiveX Rx tools that span across multiple programming languages and platforms, sharing thus common concepts and methods. So pause the video and read this page before moving forward. It's a good read and it will help you understand things better. RxSwift is a framework for interacting with the Swift programming language in a reactive way, and RxCocoa is a framework that makes the Cocoa APIs easier to use with the reactive techniques UI-wise. Before digging into our code example, let's quickly introduce three concepts that we will use in our implementation: observable, observer, and disposable bag. An observable emits notifications of change, and the observer subscribes to it and gets notified when the observable has changed. Pretty similar to the classic observer pattern. The disposable bag is an additional tool RxSwift provides to help deal with memory management. Cool! Now we're ready to jump into the code. Let's open Xcode. We have here a simple project, a traditional TableView implementation that we will transform to RxSwift. I used the split view in order for us to see everything at a glance. We can see the view controller where the table view is defined. Let's see also the data source, this TableView items array, which contains 4 elements that we will display in a simple cell. This is a UI TableView cell identified by myCellIdentifier, and that simply displays the text that corresponds to each element of the array. Pretty basic so far. Let's quickly run the project in order to see how it looks like. Great! No surprise here. Let's stop the simulator. I use the Command Q for that. And now let's see how to transform our project. First, we need to import RxSwift and RxCocoa into the project, and for that I will use Cocoa pods to have the frameworks downloaded for me. Let's go ahead and open the terminal window. I'm in the root of the project, traditional table view to RxSwift. And I will use the command pod init in order for Cocoa pods to create the pod configuration file for our project. It's located in the root of the project. Here it is. Let's open it and define here the frameworks that we need Cocoa to download for us. First, let's put in there RxSwift. And then we'll add RxCocoa. Great! Let's save the file and close it. We'll close this workspace also, as CocoaPods will create another one for us. And in order for this to happen, let's return to the terminal window and execute pod install. Cool. And as we can see in the green color, 3 frameworks were downloaded for us. RxCocoa, that comes with RxRelay, and RxSwift. And we have here some additional files, among which the new workspace with the white blue icon. Let's open it, and from now on, we'll keep on using it. Notice we have 2 targets now. The second one is called Pods, and as the name suggests, contains the frameworks downloaded previously, and also the Pods configuration file. Cool, looks pretty good. Let's go back to our view controller now and do some reactive magic tricks. Did I say magic tricks? Well, yes, I did. Why? Because you'll see this is pretty magical, getting us rid of a lot of boilerplate code that we write each time we deal with table views. So our project will look nicer and more readable. We'll start by deleting these methods. Delete the data source as well, because RxSwift will handle all of these, and we'll see in a few seconds how. Let's open the storyboard. We can use the split view, which I find very handy. Okay, and from the table view, let's remove the references to the view controller, the delegate, and the data source. Great! Now we have the stage prepared for the RxSwift and RxCocoa to come into action. Let's save, and just another look here to remember the identifier of the cell, my cell. Now we can close the storyboard. We will start by defining a disposable bag to take care of the memory management for us right after our array. The compiler cannot help us yet because we need to import the RxSwift and RxCocoa frameworks first. Good. Now we can resume the definition of the disposable bag, and the compiler is helping us all along. Then we'll introduce the observable and observer concepts we mentioned in the beginning of our episode. Let's transform our array of strings into an observable sequence that will become the data source of the table view. And for this, we will use the observable.just operator. The just operator means our observable will emit only these 4 elements. Cool! We have only one more step to do, to bind this to our table view. And for that, we use bind to associate the table view items observable with the code that executes each row in the table view. Then, by calling Rx, we access the RxCocoa extensions. And we use the items cell identifier method, passing in the myCellIdentifier. It requires a closure. The compiler complains a little bit, but we will make him happy soon. The Rx framework knows to call the dequeuing methods as though our table view had its original data source. In the closure, we receive as arguments the table view, the corresponding string from our table view items array, and the cell itself. The values normally generated by table view number of rows in section and number of sections methods are now automatically calculated based on the observed data. So, all that remains for us to do is to set the cell's text label equal with the string from our table view items array. Our closure code effectively replaces the traditional method table view cell for row at index path. And finally, we take the disposable returned by the bind method and add it to the disposable bag in order for it to take care of the memory management. Cool, the compiler is happy. Let's arrange a little bit the code and we have everything nice and ready. Let's run the project and see how it looks like in the simulator. What do you think, guys? Personally, I love how the code looks like now. Simple, clean, easy to read, almost self-explanatory. For me, this is real magic. Looking forward to hear from you also in the comments section below. And here's the simulator. Exactly as expected. Let's quickly recap what we did so far. We used CocoaPods to import RxSwift and RxCocoa into our project. We defined the observable that will be used to populate the table view with the aid of the just operator. We defined a disposable bag to take care of the memory management for us. And finally, we bound the observable to the code that executes each row in the table view with the aid of the RxItemsCellIdentifier method. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned for the next RxSwift episodes by hitting the subscribe button below. Cheers!